Hey, everybody. Welcome to Thoughts of a Freeman. I'm Atticus Freeman, and we have a great show on this Juneteenth day. So it is day 13 in the LA protests that are taking place due to the ICE raids. So today's topic is going to be over Senate Bill 627, which is also known as the No Secret Police Act. So just a little bit of background on this piece of legislation for those who are not familiar. The bill prohibits law enforcement at all levels from covering their faces while conducting operations in the state of California. Um, and this bill that's been being brought forward, it's crazy. Two reasons. Number one, just the name, right? The name is that the no secret police, right? And you would think that in the society that we have, right, this capitalist society, this free democracy that is the United States, that we would not have to bring in legislation with the name no secret police. That just would not be a thing that you would think that this country, would need to bring forward. This is not legislation. So that's number one. And number two, what's crazy about this, right, is really just the need or the idea that police should not be covering their faces, or that police are the idea that we need to kind of put this statute or this kind of governance in place, so that police or law enforcement agencies rather would not be covering their face. In particular, ICE agents, right? That should be, carrying out the law of the land. And I know, there's going to probably be some pushback, right, from law enforcement individuals and those that support law enforcement, saying like, hey, these individuals, these men and women, they're just afraid. They need to cover their face because they're afraid of being doxxed, right? They have families, and so they need to be able to, just be able to do their job, right? Because they're just doing their job. And they need to be able to do their job, but then also, at the end of the day, to be able to go home to their kids and their loved ones, their partners, and just be able to live normal everyday lives, right? And which I do agree, right? That's definitely something that these men and women should be able to do. And I definitely think that they should be able to do these things, right? And I'm fully support that. However, there was a group of people that also said that, right? And that was the Nazis, right? The Nazis, after World War II, they were saying like, hey, we were just doing our jobs, right? We were just doing what we were told to do. And as we know, that's really no excuse, right? We all know right and wrong. And so these individuals are carrying out these operations, right, with not only just having a mask, but they don't have the proper identification, right? They're going in with sterile uniforms that don't have any kind of identifying marks or identifying information, right? Badge numbers, names, and then they're also covering their faces, right? And that's really what this bill is aimed at, right? Ensuring that that these law enforcement agents at all levels, right? So whether it is local police all the way up to federal agents, such as the ICE agents, are not covering their faces, and they're having proper identification, right, where they can be identified by the public. Now, which is a good thing, right? Now there are some caveats, there are some provisions that are in this bill, which that I think are very important and very much needed. This does not pertain to officers, right, that are SWAT officers or officers that are, doing riot control or fighting fires, in the state of California. And this is important, why? Because these individuals might need to be wearing gas masks or, oxygen masks, things that are going to actually be protective and keep them safe, right? If they are, legitimately doing riot control, and they are using tear gas or CS gas, it would probably be a good thing for these individuals, right, who are trying to maintain order or restore order, to not be breathing in, the tear gas or the CS, right? So that is definitely needed, right? And that is definitely something that is in this particular bill. And so, just something to think about, right? Bringing it out to the public, right? That this is a bill, right? So this is definitely something that should not only just be in California. I know that as of right now, this is just a California thing, but I think this would be a good idea for all states, all 50 states, all the territories, all U.S. territories. Guess what? If you or doing some kind of, you're conducting operations, for the public good, right? Probably shouldn't have your face covered, right? Because there was historically there was another group that like to conduct operations with their face covered. You might have heard of them. They are the Ku Klux Klan, right? The Klan love, and even today, love to, roll around with their face covered, right? They have their hoods, they have their ceremonious decorative robes, and they like to get out and legally protest, right? Which is their right, not anything, personally against that, right? But they like to get out and talk with the public, engage with the public, but they cover their faces, right? And that's what I have a problem with, right? Because if you're going to get out here and you're going to spew all that hate, hey, we need to know who you are. We need to know who you are, right? But they would like to do things, right? Cover their faces, and really do whatever it is that they were doing, right? Spread their hate in a very covert fashion, right? And very much against that, right? And then they do that. Why? Because these are doctors, lawyers, businessmen, right? The person that works down at whatever business that you're going to, right? These are people that are in churches, church leaders, or even just church practitioners, right? Work in the schools, daycares, what have you, right? And they don't want to be known for the things that they or the messages that they are spewing, right? So very much against that, right? So let's go ahead and make sure, hey, guess what? If whatever you're doing, stand on business, right? You don't need to wear a mask. But then the next thing that I'd like to talk about, right, was this commentary, and it was super interesting, right? Kind of caught me by surprise, and it was a Chinese lady, and she was talking. Kind of her commentary was directed to the Latino community, and it was very interesting. Caught me off guard rather. And basically, she's talking to the Latino community, and she is saying, "Hey, Latino community, you probably should not be looking or asking for support from the Black community." Which, once again, right, caught me by surprise. But then she goes on and she says, the community that you should really be asking for help and seeking help from is the Asian community. And the reason for that is because the Asian community is really in the same boat or same struggle, if you will, when it comes to these ICE raids. And these mass deportations. The Black community really isn't subject to that, for obvious reasons. And so really they're not the best ally, right? And let me just kind of as a side note, right? I think that, in issues and in times like this, right, there are definitely strength in numbers. And so whatever support can be given should be given from every community, right? Because really that's how we really move the needle in issues like this. But man, with that being said, um, this commentary was really good. Like I really, really agree with it. And I don't think that what she was saying is like, hey, you shouldn't be looking for support from the Black community. I think what she was really, really getting at is, when you're asking for support, and you're looking for support, and you're seeking support, you should really, really be seeking that support from the Asian community. Why? Because the Asian community is really the community that is going to really be able to is also being affected by this type of these operations and these tactics and what have you. And so I definitely agree with that. But then she also brought up another point that really hit home for me, and that is that typically law enforcement is probably looking, and hoping rather for Black protesters. And she commented that law enforcement wants Black protesters to come out, right? Because that's when they feel that they can be most violent. We look at the peaceful protests of after the killing of George Floyd. And there were Black protesters that were protesting peacefully, uh, peacefully, and there was a lot of violence. And so she kind of said, like, "Hey, and this was an Asian woman. She was Chinese, I believe. She was saying that she believes that law enforcement is going to be less likely to engage in violence with her as an Asian woman and as a member of the Asian community before they would be violent with protesters that are Black, and that really hit home, right? And that made a lot of sense to me, and it really brought up a lot of questions, with me, and really how I look at this whole protest. Because, like I said, I really feel like there are strength in numbers, and so any and everybody who can get out and can contribute to to the protests, to the injustice that is going on, not only in California but in Texas. And in our country as a whole, right? Any and everybody who can, whether they be, Hispanic, Latino, Black, white, Asian, we should all, as good members of, as good citizens of the world, right? We should definitely get in there and definitely raise our voices and speak, right? And I think that it's worth mentioning that the Black community is always historically has always co-opted with any society, or not, excuse me, not any society, but any oppressed group in this country, right? We're always there. We're always ready to lift our voice and sing if need be, and really kind of raise awareness and to march and to protest for injustice anywhere in this country, right? And so it is, I'll be honest with you, it's a little refreshing that this member of the Asian community is saying, like, hey, you know what, you know, this might not necessarily be the fight for the Black community. Number one, they really don't have a dog in this fight. But number two, hey, guess what? Law enforcement has shown historically that when there are Black protesters, um, they like to bring out the violence. They like to bring out the tear gas. They like to use physical force. And we don't really need to put the Black community through that necessarily. And so that was really, 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 it's really interesting, right? And really thought provoking. So I'd like to see what you guys think. What your comments are on this matter, right? Like I said, I can't say it enough. I think that as good world citizens, as good global citizens, rather, that any and everybody who can be involved should be involved. So that's pretty much all that I got for you guys today. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in to this podcast. Please stay tuned for more content, right? This podcast has been out for 2-3 years now. Just now getting back into it. So really looking forward to, tackling what we have going on in society and the world globally. And so, hey, make sure that you catch up on the older shows. They're actually only audio, but you can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere where you get your podcasts from. So, as always, I am Atticus Freeman, and just so you know, freedom is for those who fight for it.